Tonight, Sir Colin Tukitanga arrives on the island leading global study including Niue. First ever Niue Media Association launched. And first local brewery Inuhake in over 30 years. Good evening, I'm Sarai Mangawa and this is your BCN News. Leading our news tonight, it was a celebration of beautiful singing at the airport preceded by an impressive traditional call, the Ui, performed by Lavea Puheke of Taonga Niue to welcome Sir Colin Tukitanga to the island. Sir Colin Tukitanga was welcomed by cheers and singing from well-wishers and his family, very proud to welcome him home, laying garlands of maili. Commonwealth MP and former Niue High Commissioner to New Zealand Olaf Tavere-Jacobson was instrumental in organising the welcome at the airport. Also there to greet Sir Colin was the Speaker of the Whanakepule, Hima Douglas, and also the Director of Taonga Niue, Moira Enetama, joining in with many other families and friends to lay their kahoa maili. This is the first visit to the island for Sir Colin since he was bestowed the Knight Companion of the Order of New Zealand in June 2022 as part of the Queen's Birthday and Platinum Jubilee Honours in New Zealand that year. Sir Colin Tukitanga is here with two other public health academics from the University of Auckland, PhD candidate Dr. Noah Blunckley and also Professor of Public Health Dr. Chris Bullen in this initial phase of a global study in which Niue is part of. This visit is to hold consultations with government leaders, community groups and the public about this research. BCN News spoke earlier to the team today.
So this project came about because a trust in the UK called the Wellcome Trust put out a call for ideas about how to reduce the impacts of human health of climate change. And one of our colleagues who's also working on the study but who's overseas at the moment, Dr. Aditi Bunker, she'd been doing some work in Africa with using a coating on the roofs of houses to try and reduce the amount of heat that people are exposed to. As temperatures rise all around the world, people are suffering a lot of heat-related illness. And so, having learned some things from that study, we put in a proposal to the Wellcome Trust to run a big study involving 4 countries and regions around the world. So in Africa, in India, in Mexico, and here in Niue, representing the Pacific Oceania region. And so that's why we're here, really, just to start having a conversation with people about what would be involved and understanding what the context is here. If we're going to embark on this study, what do we need to know and what are people interested in from their perspective, what is it going to involve for them.
Dr. Noah Blunckley, who is also a PhD candidate of the study, explains the aim of the research.
Well, the ultimate aim of this study is to really identify ways that we can help to mitigate the impacts of climate change. As Chris was saying, we're expecting that temperatures are going to rise over the next few decades. In places like Niue and some of the other regions that we're working with in the study, the temperatures are going to get higher. And so we really need to identify ways to help protect people from those temperature extremes. We know that high temperatures can have impacts on people's health and well-being, can affect people's physiological functioning, increase the risk of certain conditions and diseases like heart attacks, diabetes, and also impact people by impacting their sleep, their productivity. And so if we can identify ways to mitigate some of those negative consequences from heat, then that would be a great thing. So
the research is expected to start after the end of the next cyclone season around April next year. But from now until then, the team will continue to visit the island from time to time. Professor Bullen said that this is an information sharing visit as well as to gather information on possible capacity and training opportunities.
It's a learning experience for us, but it's also an information sharing opportunity, and we've been really thrilled with the positive response that we've had and the willingness for people to partner with us on this project. So we wouldn't want to do anything if people didn't want to be part of it. So we needed to come here and just to meet people and understand the context. This is my first trip to beautiful Niue, so we wouldn't want to kind of be like outsiders coming in and just trying to do something. It's more a case of for us to learn and then to share what we know and then see what solutions we can find that are going to work in this context, whilst staying true, if you like, to the scientific framework that we have to work within. But there'll be a lot of opportunity for having this as a platform for training and development for Niuean people as well, which is one of our sub-objectives.
To talk more about this research, Sir Colin Tukitanga will be on News of the Week's radio program tomorrow from 11:30 in the morning.
The Public Accounts Committee of the Whānau-i-ke-Pule identified 3 important areas that the committee highlighted in its report to the Whānau-i-ke-Pule last Wednesday during the final deliberations of the government's appropriations budget for 2023. The committee confirmed that the government continues to spend the bulk of its budget on staffing, welfare and subsidies for health and education, accounting for 70% of the budget, leaving only 30% for operational costs.
The Public Accounts Committee called on the Whānau-i-ke-Pule to strengthen parliamentary oversight of the government's decisions in 3 key areas. Firstly, it recommends strengthening parliamentary oversight with regards to staffing capacity for staff involved in financial management to enhance their skills and knowledge. The committee recommends that the government invest in training and development programs for staff involved in financial management as an investment in better financial planning, budgeting and reporting, which will lead to improved accountability and transparency in government decision-making. Secondly, the committee called for stronger parliamentary oversight over the decisions of the government with regards to salary discrepancies and human resource development. The committee recommends that the government conduct regular audits and review to identify any discrepancies in salary structures and to address promptly those discrepancies to ensure fairness and equal opportunities for all public servants. The Public Accounts Committee also called for an improved parliamentary scrutiny of the government's decisions regarding asset maintenance, recommending that the government establish a comprehensive asset maintenance framework. This should include regular inspections, proper documentation of maintenance, and allocation of sufficient resources for timely repairs and replacements. The committee notes that many departments express their needs for vehicles. The report of the Public Accounts Committee was delivered by its Deputy Chairperson Rhonda Siakiato Mailunga at the last sitting of the Whānau-i-ke-Pule.
The official launch of the community consultations phase of the Australia-funded water and wastewater project was held on Tuesday, attended by village councils, government agencies, an event co-hosted by the government and Australian High Commissioner. The launch held at the Golf and Sports Club on Tuesday was attended by ministers, the Secretary to Government, directors of various government agencies, as well as representatives from the private sector and the village councils. Australia's High Commissioner to Niue, Louise Allerton, spoke about Australia's support for this project.
So why is Australia's development assistance focusing on water and wastewater? When I first arrived in Niue, everyone had a view on what Australia should support. During my earliest discussions with government and cabinet, I was told that Australia's support needed to be focused and that it had to deliver something tangible. We agreed that the Australian support should focus on critical infrastructure. It took a further 6 months of consultations to agree that water and wastewater would be our focus. And I'd like to thank the Minister for his personal support through that, what was a rather long process.
From the 17th to the 31st of July this year, a team of water specialists and engineers from Australian multinational firm GHD will visit Niue. This group will be leading the technical design phase of the project. Minister of Infrastructure Crossley Tatui said that the government and people of Niue are grateful to Australia for their continuous support to the water sector development over many years. The emphasis on water and wastewater management is vital for many aspects of society, including the improvement of health standards, population well-being and environment. Minister Tatui called on community leaders to participate in the dialogue and consider the accrued benefits for today's and our future generations. Director of Utilities Clinton Chapman said that it is anticipated that the project will likely include replacement and rehabilitation of critical water infrastructure such as tanks, pipes and pumps, and a wastewater treatment facility. The design will integrate climate and disaster resilience as a key consideration. A very important dialogue will be held in Samoa from the 17th to the 19th of this month to capture the views of the Pacific Islands about the loss and damage funding arrangements in this time of climate crisis. For the Pacific Islands, the breakthrough decision at COP27 last year to establish new loss and damage funding arrangements is a major win in what has been a long journey to raise global awareness about the reality of loss and damage. Niue is sending a delegation of 5 to this meeting.
SPRIP will be hosting the Dialogue of the Pacific Countries in Samoa, bringing together government representatives, civil society, academia, NGOs, and the private sector to collectively discuss experiences in the Pacific and options to address loss and damage in the region. Niue will be represented by a delegation of 5, including Director of PMCU Felicia Talangi, Director of Taonga Niue Mura and Tama, Climate Change Officer at the Environment Department Tavili Pavihi, CEO of the Niue Chamber of Commerce Catherine Papani, and Tom Senior Misikea from Niue Crows. Felicia Talangi, who with Tavili Pavihi were at COP27 in Egypt last year, told Midday News that the establishment of a loss and damage fund was the highlight of COP last year. Subsequently, a transitional committee was established to put together a framework for the Loss and Damage Fund to present at the COP, which will be held in Dubai. Felicia said that this meeting in Apia is an opportunity to unpack what the transitional committee has designed and to make sure Pacific priorities are featured. Niue has been selected as one of the case studies by SPRIP to progress international awareness on loss and damage with Taonga Niue involvement. Government officials Felicia Talangi and Tavili Pavihi are leading Niue's work on loss and damage.
A National Geographic Pristine Seas team of experts arrived on the island on Monday and are currently working with the government, Tofia Niue and Niue Oceanwide, to document the island's coral reefs and marine biodiversity. The team includes researchers, filmmakers, and regional experts on board a MV Argo research vessel outfitted with cutting-edge scientific equipment to survey Niue's Moana Mahu marine protected area. The expedition crew will depart Rarotonga tomorrow and will be met with Niue's team of 3 from the Fisheries and Now project, including Launoa Ngataua, Darren Mangatongia, and Janam Hopotoa. Also tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. local time, the crew will be hosting a live stream via YouTube to share the purpose of their expedition to Niue. More about this, you can contact Niue Oceanwide. Niue is expecting drier conditions with predictions of drought conditions in the coming months, says Niue Meteorological Services. But there are also predictions from local and regional meteorologists that some parts of the Pacific, particularly the southwest region, will be expected to experience more severe cyclones in the shift to El Nino alert. Here's more on this story.
The current El Nino Southern Oscillation, or ENSO, status for Niue is for El Nino alert. According to recent comments by Director of Met Services Rosie Misiepo, for Niue this means drier conditions and may result in a drought, and the island should also expect severe tropical cyclones in the next cyclone season, starting in November 2023 until April 2024. However, as there are signs El Nino may form later in the year, below normal rainfall, dry conditions or drought for Niue. High risk of tropical cyclones or intense cyclones can be expected during that time. RNZ Pacific journalist Caleb Fotheringham reported that the Pacific is due to get a dramatic shift in weather over the next 12 months as it moves from a triple-dip La Nina event to the opposite direction. There's also a higher chance of more cyclones in the southwest Pacific, with the risk increasing east of Fiji but reducing in the west. Met Director Rosie Misiapo said that in order to plan ahead, preparation needs to begin now for dry conditions and cyclone season and strengthening our current cyclone plans.
A small gathering of government dignitaries, diplomats and invited guests joined in the official launch of the Niue Media Association last Friday evening at Hio Cafe and Bar in Tuapa. The event was the culmination of months of work by Esther Pavihi and her team to secure funding from Australia's Pacific Media Assistance Scheme, PACMAS, to draft a constitution and code of ethics for the first media association in Niue. Here's more on this story. Niue's only media broadcasting corporation senior producer, Esther Pavihi, delivered the opening remarks.
This has been a long time coming. Thank you so much for joining us tonight to launch the Niue Media Association. I understand from Michael Jackson, the owner and publisher of Niue Star, that there were several attempts to establish a media association in previous years, but it just never happened because very few people work in the media here. But with the advent of the internet and social media, we have multimedia platforms, and of course we have quite a few here in Niue at the moment, so why not? This is the right time to establish an association.
Australia's High Commissioner Louise Allerton addressed the gathering and congratulated the newly established Media Association.
In Niue, our support to local media is long-standing. The construction of the BCN studio in 1995 was funded by Australia and officially opened on Constitution Day 23 years ago.
The Minister of Broadcasting is Premier Dalton Tangelangi, but he was not able to attend. Instead, his member assisting the Minister, Sinahemana Hiko, spoke on behalf of the Premier and the government.
Looking at the broader picture, free and independent media has a somewhat regulatory role in promoting peace, justice and strong institutions. You have the power to inform, promote and influence members of the public. As your government, we wish you well in your new establishment. May you educate your members the appropriate code of ethics to guide them in their work. And may your constitution give you the foundation for your success now and in the future.
The final remarks were delivered by the chairperson of the BCN board, Reverend Scanlan Misiepo, who spoke about growing the interest of young people in media and acknowledged the workers from Fiji who have been helping for many years.
I hope as we move forward from today, we will attract more young people towards a career in the media. I want to also acknowledge our staff from Fiji and other countries who over the years came to Niue to help our media industry. Thank you for helping us, but it is now up to us here in Niue to grow the interest of your young people to work in the media sector.
The launch of the Niue Media Association has already received many messages of congratulations from media colleagues in the region. The launch is timely as Niue will next year host journalists and media outlets at the 7th Pacific Media Summit organized by Pacific Islands News Association PINA. After more than 30 years since the closure of Fia Liga, Niue's first brewery a couple of weeks ago, Inuhake Brewery, was opened last week. The venture is one of Avi Rubin's businesses expanding their family business from an accommodation provider, food and beverage outlets, to now opening a brewery so they can brew their own beer.
Avi Rubin said that one of the key reasons for starting Inuhake Brewery is to help minimize the importation of aluminium cans and bottles from overseas beers being imported to Niue. It is also about job creation. Right now, they are employing 2 people to brew the beer. Here is Avi Rubin telling PCA News about the new Inuhake Brewery.
So far, everything we did, people loved. You know, we came up with all kind of crazy flavors like pina colada with pineapple coconut. We do lemon. We do different things. And I'm trying to, basically, it's a craft beer, and I'm trying to, when people come here as a tourist, to give them a beer that they cannot taste in New Zealand, and they want something local. Also, at the same time, when we do something, I really cared about that. I didn't like the idea that we're bringing cans and bottles and we're basically shipping water. Beer is 99% water, okay? We can do the same thing here, just in the technology. We can probably do it better, create employment on the island. So now I'm employing 2 people to do the beer here. We don't have any bottling or any canning, so people come, enjoy the beer, have a good time. And as I explained to you, the benefit of pressure brewing is that the carbonation is done naturally in the keg, so we don't add any CO2 to it.
A set up a more sophisticated system that is suitable for the local conditions, which means the beer and cider is always cold when it's poured for the customers. Inuhake Brewery is located conveniently next door to the bar, the Ark at Alofi South.
3 village teams battled out in the Niue Rugby League Tuamotu Nines Tournament 2023 last Saturday, including Alofi Mako, Tuapa and Avasele. Taking the championship shield and title for the tournament was Tuapa, leading in a final 22 points to 14 against Avasele. Second place went to Avasele and third place went to Alofi Mako. Here's more on this story. According to Niue Rugby League President Zach Smith, there was only 1 accidental injury from the tournament. He's had his checkup and he's fine, says Zach. The team was really tidy, fitness was better, and the development of the young kids has improved a lot. Zach says that the only challenge was finding referees or people who were keen to learn. The Niue Rugby League Tuamotu Association is scheduled to hold their second camp for the under-18s on July 15th this month. We encourage everyone who is keen to play and learn, or if anyone needs help, don't hesitate to contact me or anyone in the committee. Our main goal is growing the game and developing our kids, says Zach. Dates are still tentative, but next competition on the Niue Rugby League calendar will be the North versus South tournament. Niue High School hosted their Athletics Day 1 yesterday afternoon at Paliasi School grounds, where the 4 traditional house teams, Langakali, Kiato, Moea and Pua, went up head-to-head. The theme was Invest in People, Prioritize Education. The events included a range of field and track such as 800-meter, shot put, javelin and the 4x400-meter relay. Day 2 Athletics Day will take place next Friday, 14th of July, starting at 8 a.m. at the Paliasi School grounds. BCN cameras were able to capture some of the events yesterday. Before we leave you tonight, the China road upgrade contractors are currently working on the main roads at Alofi North. A reminder to all members of the public and motorists to be mindful when driving through these areas, clearly marked with cones and road signs, to drive slowly and be mindful of the workers as well. And that is our BCN News for tonight. Join us again next week, Tuesday, for Wangahau Niue Bulletin with Esther Pavihi. Until then, wishing you all a safe weekend. Mutulukia.